Have you ever walked into your own kitchen and felt a quiet kind of sadness? Not because anything was wrong, but because everything felt like too much. The counters covered, the table hidden, the chairs more like shelves than places to sit. And you thought, I'm home, but I don't feel rested. You cleaned yesterday and the day before that, but somehow the mess always returns. Maybe you've told yourself, I'm just not organized anymore. I'm too tired. Maybe this is just what aging feels like. But what if I told you, it's not you, it's not your age, it's not your fault. No one ever taught us how to live lightly as we grow older. They taught us how to clean, but not how to let go. They told us to keep things tidy, but not how to feel peace in our own space. This video is not about scrubbing harder. It's about seeing differently, thinking differently, living differently. Because sometimes the heaviest thing in the house is the feeling that nothing ever changes. But just like a single window can light up a whole room, a single new habit can change the way your home and your heart feel. Let me show you how. It often starts with something small: a sock left under the coffee table, a stack of unopened mail near the door, a bowl in the sink that you meant to wash yesterday. You tell yourself, I'll get to it later. But then later comes, and your knees ache, your back tightens, your energy feels borrowed. So you sit down for a moment, but everywhere you look, something is waiting. And somehow, being home, this place meant to comfort you, feels more exhausting than being out. One woman once told me, I used to love being home. Now I avoid walking past certain rooms. They make me feel like I'm falling behind on my own life. She didn't need a maid. She didn't need new shelves. She just needed to feel peace again. That quiet kind of exhaustion, the one that doesn't show up in lab tests or doctor visits, is one that thousands of people over 50 silently carry every day. Not because they're lazy, not because they've given up, but because no one ever taught them that a home can drain you too. Not with noise, but with visual clutter, unfinished piles, open loops, little whispers of not yet, still waiting, fix me. And over time, that silent noise becomes louder than words. You don't rest. You delay. You shrink. You live around the mess instead of in your space. But it doesn't have to be that way. Because peace isn't found in perfection, it's found in permission. Permission to do less, to start small, to tidy for yourself, not for guests, to live lighter, not harder. And it begins with one shift: seeing your home not as a project to complete, but as a partner in your well-being. Let's begin there, because when your home stops exhausting you, you'll have more room to live again. For many years, we were taught one simple belief: if the house is messy, clean more. So we scrub, we wipe, we bend down again and again until our back reminds us of our age. And for a brief moment, things look better. But only briefly, because a few days later, sometimes even a few hours later, the mess returns. And that's when the frustration really begins. You start thinking, what's wrong with me? Why can't I keep this house under control anymore? But here's the truth most people never hear. Cleaning more doesn't fix clutter. Clutter is not a dirt problem. It's a decision problem. When you clean without a system, you're only moving things from one place to another, from the table to the drawer, from the chair to the bed, from the counter to a box you'll sort later, and later rarely comes. So every time you clean, you feel busy, but nothing truly changes. The house still feels heavy, and you feel tired for no lasting reward. This is especially hard as we grow older, because our energy becomes precious. Every movement costs more than it used to. And when that energy disappears into endless cleaning, it leaves behind disappointment instead of relief. One man in his 70s once said, I spend all morning cleaning, and by afternoon, I'm too tired to enjoy my own living room. That's not how a home should feel. A home is not something you fight every day. It's something that should support you. The problem isn't that you don't clean enough. It's that you were never shown how to clean less and still live in order. That's why the people whose homes always feel calm are not cleaning all day. They're not stronger. They're not stricter. They're simply doing smaller things at the right moment. And once you understand that, everything begins to shift. Because the goal is not a perfect home. The goal is a home that stays light without exhausting you. And that's exactly what the next idea will help you do. It starts with how your eyes see a room before your hands ever touch a thing. Have you ever walked into your living room and felt unsettled without knowing exactly why? You looked around and thought, I just cleaned yesterday, so why does it still feel messy? The answer might surprise you. It's not about what's there. It's about what your brain sees first. You see, the human mind is wired for pattern recognition. When you enter a space, your eyes scan the area in just a few seconds and lock on to the first few things that seem out of place. Not everything, just the most noticeable five. A sweater on the back of a chair, an empty cup by the TV, a grocery bag still hanging on a doorknob, a stack of flyers, one pillow out of line. That's it, 5 items. And suddenly your brain makes a snap judgment. This room is cluttered. Even if 90% of the space is tidy, even if you've just spent 2 hours cleaning. This is what I call the first sight impact. And once you understand it, you stop trying to clean the whole house all the time. You start focusing on the first 5 things your eyes notice. One woman in North Carolina tried this for just 1 week. Every time she entered a room, she paused, looked around, and asked herself, what are the first 5 things I see that don't belong here? Then she quietly returned them to their places. A blanket folded, a magazine stacked, a dish put away. Just 5 small resets. She told me, for the first time in years, I sat in my living room and felt like it could breathe again. And she didn't clean harder. She simply learned how to see more clearly. You don't need to mop the floor if there's still a jacket slumped on the couch. You don't need to reorganize your shelves if there's unopened mail sitting in the center of the table. Start with what your eyes land on first, because how you see your space directly shapes how you feel in it. And when the first sight says peace, the rest of you begins to believe it. Now imagine if you could keep that peace by never letting those little piles grow too big in the first place. What if you stopped clutter before it ever became clutter? That's exactly what we'll explore next. There's a moment that happens in every home, a moment so small we barely notice it. You walk in, take off your scarf, and instead of hanging it, you toss it on the chair. You tell yourself, I'll put it away later. You bring in the mail, set it on the counter. Later, you pour a glass of water, leave the cup by the sink. Later. Later becomes tomorrow. Tomorrow becomes next week. And before you realize it, you've built a quiet mountain of unfinished things. Not because you're lazy, but because life keeps happening, one little delay at a time. And these delays don't just clutter your home, they clutter your mind. Every time you see that cup still sitting there, your brain keeps it open like a browser tab. A mental loop that says, don't forget, still not done, you'll get to it. Multiply that by 10, 20, 30 tiny delays, and no wonder you feel overwhelmed. This is why the one-touch rule matters so much. It's not about being perfect. It's about breaking the loop of later. The rule is simple. If you touch it, finish it. You pick up the mail? Sort it right then. Throw away the junk. Put the important ones in one spot. Take off your coat. Hang it up before you sit down. Use a dish, rinse it, or place it in the dishwasher. These tiny acts take 10 seconds, but they save you hours of future frustration. One woman in Oregon said she followed this rule for just 2 weeks. Her home felt cleaner without adding a single cleaning day. Why? Because things stopped becoming messes in the first place. She said, it wasn't just about my house. My mind stopped feeling like it had 50 things waiting. And that's the magic. When you finish the task the first time you touch it, you don't just tidy the object. You close the mental loop. You give your future self a break. You build trust with your own habits. You make space in your mind for rest, for joy, for peace. Because clutter isn't always about stuff. Sometimes it's just a buildup of unfinished promises to ourselves. But one small habit, done in real time, can start to untangle the loop. And once that loop begins to break, you start making space for something far more powerful: clarity. And clarity, as you'll soon see, is what gives you the strength to finally let go of the things that no longer serve you. Letting go is not about being ruthless. It's not about turning your home into a showroom. It's not about becoming minimalist. It's about making space to breathe again. Because sometimes the heaviest things in our homes are the ones we no longer use, but still feel guilty for giving away. A sweater your son gave you 10 Christmases ago. An old set of dishes you saved for guests that never came. A purse you haven't touched since before retirement. You hold them. You move them from shelf to shelf. But deep down, you know, they belong to another season of your life. There's nothing wrong with memories. But when they start crowding out your present, it becomes harder to live fully in the now. That's where the empty nest method begins. Just like a bird never builds a new nest on top of the old, you too deserve a fresh start. One drawer, one cabinet, one corner at a time. Pick one space, empty it completely. Don't sort inside it. Don't shift things around. Take everything out. Wipe it clean. Let yourself look at the emptiness. Not as a void, but as permission. Now hold each item. Ask softly, do I still use this? Do I still need this? Do I still love this for who I am today? Not who you were 10 years ago. Not who you were when the kids were small. Not who you were when you bought it just in case. Who you are now in this chapter. A woman in Florida told me she did this with her closet. For 40 years, she kept clothes from every stage of life. But when she finally emptied everything, she saw not just fabric, but versions of herself she had outgrown. She cried. Then she smiled. Then she filled her closet again. Not with more, but with fewer things that finally felt like her. She told me, it was the first time in years I could open my closet and feel at peace. This isn't about throwing things away. It's about choosing intentionally. It's about saying, I have lived a rich life, and I don't need to carry all of it with me at once. And if you ever feel unsure, try this. Every time you bring something new home, let one similar thing go. One in, one out. Not as punishment, but as balance. Because when you release what no longer serves you, you create space for what truly does. Not just in your cabinets, but in your spirit. And once you learn to let go gently, you'll realize freedom doesn't come from organizing better. It comes from needing less. And now that you've begun to free your space, it's time to talk about something just as important. How to build small daily rhythms that keep your home light without effort. Peace doesn't arrive with a loud knock. It doesn't come from a big makeover, a full weekend of cleaning, or a sudden burst of motivation. Peace comes in the quiet. It comes from the little things you do, without pressure, without praise, without anyone even noticing. 15 minutes in the morning, a single towel folded, one drawer cleared while the tea kettle boils. That's where peace begins. Because the truth is, your home didn't become cluttered in one day. And it doesn't need to be fixed in one either. Many of us over 50 were taught this dangerous myth. If you can't clean the whole thing, don't even start. But your home isn't a race. It's a rhythm. And rhythms are built through tiny promises kept quietly. Try this. Pick one small task each day. Set a timer for 15 minutes. Declutter one cabinet. Straighten one shelf. Clear one small stack. Then stop. Breathe. Drink water. Smile at what you've done, no matter how small. That's the 15-minute promise. It's not about doing more. It's about doing just enough, consistently. Then there's the 3-second kindness, the act of noticing something out of place and fixing it right then in under 3 seconds. Pushing in a chair, closing a drawer, putting a remote back in its basket. Not because it's urgent, but because it's kind. Kind to your future self. Kind to your peace of mind. And then there are the invisible minutes, those quiet in-between moments you never thought to use. While you wait for the microwave, wipe the counter. While the water boils, put away 3 things. While waiting for a phone call, fold the laundry on the couch. These moments don't ask for more energy. They just ask for awareness. And that's the beauty. Small habits don't drain you. They restore you. They remind you that you are not behind. You are not messy. You are simply human. And when you treat yourself with gentleness, your home begins to mirror that gentleness back. One woman in Arizona said, "I thought I had no energy left to keep things tidy, but it wasn't energy I was missing. It was the belief that small things still mattered." They do. Every time you keep a little promise to yourself, you grow stronger, not just as someone who cleans, but as someone who cares. And once these small habits take root, your home doesn't just look better, it feels like you again. Next, let's talk about how a few smart systems can make these habits last, so you spend less time searching and more time simply living. Let's be honest. We've all tried organizing with boxes, baskets, and bins. We've labeled, we've sorted, we've rearranged. But a few weeks later, things feel messy again. Why? Because most of us are organizing for storage, not for systems. Storage is where things go to disappear. Systems are how things return home. Let me explain. If you have to open 3 drawers to find a pair of scissors, you don't need more space. You need a system. If your mail ends up on 5 different surfaces before it gets sorted, you don't need a better shelf. You need a process. Systems are about clarity. They help you know where things belong, and just as importantly, why they're there. A woman in Minnesota once told me, "I used to spend more time searching than living. Then I created zones, simple ones, and everything changed." She had a basket next to the landline, stamps, envelopes, pens, sticky notes. That was her communication zone. In the kitchen, she had a small drawer. Scissors, tape, batteries. That was her tool zone. She didn't buy anything new. She just made a decision. From now on, this is where these things live. And that decision removed hours of frustration. Because when you create zones, you stop playing hide and seek with your own life. You stop bending over again and again to open the wrong drawer. You stop asking someone else, "Have you seen my..." And best of all, you start trusting your home again, not because it's fancy, but because it works for you, not against you, not around you, with you. Think about it this way. Every item in your house is either helping your life feel smoother, or it's stealing a little piece each time it's misplaced. You don't need a label maker. You don't need Pinterest-worthy containers. You just need a few clear zones and the habit of returning things to them. That's a system, and systems bring relief, because when your home supports you, you get to spend more time living in it, not managing it. And once you stop searching for stuff, you start searching for something far more meaningful: stillness. Let's talk about that next, about how your home can become more than clean. It can become a place that heals. A clean home is nice, but a healing home, that's something deeper, something sacred. Because as we grow older, what we truly seek isn't perfection, it's peace. The kind of peace that greets you at the door, wraps around your shoulders like a warm blanket and whispers, "You're safe here." Not because everything is spotless, but because everything has settled. The noise of clutter is gone. The guilt of unfinished things quieted. The rush to keep up replaced with rhythm. This is the home that heals, not by changing the furniture, but by changing the feeling. Where your favorite mug is always easy to find. Where the table is clear enough for a slow breakfast. Where a drawer opens without chaos and a chair is free for afternoon rest. A home that reflects who you are now, not just who you used to be. One grandmother once said to me, "I used to think my house needed more things, but now I realize it needed fewer things and more space for me." And maybe that's what you've been needing too. Not more effort, not another list, just a gentle return to your own space, your own rhythm, your own breath. Because at this stage of life, what matters most isn't the number of items you own, but the number of moments you feel at peace in your own home. And the beautiful part is that peace is always within reach. It's in the way you fold a blanket, put away a dish, say goodbye to one small thing you no longer need. It's in the silence that follows when the house stops speaking in clutter and starts speaking in calm. So as you finish this video, don't rush. Don't try to do it all. Just pick one small habit, one drawer, one chair, one gentle act of care. Start there and repeat. Because you don't need a perfect home, just one that feels light enough to carry your memories, soft enough to rest your body, and clear enough to remind your heart, "This is where I belong." Thank you for letting me sit with you today. If this touched something in you, subscribe and come back each week. as we continue this quiet journey of making life feel a little lighter.